The Moon Haters. Coastal trade around the UK only became smuggling after the imposition of taxes. From as early as the 13th century, owlers, as they were known, exported wool from the coast of Norfolk, evading the duty demanded by the King and the Exchequer. Trading across the North Sea with European seaports was so much quicker and easier than going over land by wagon and pack horse. Rural coastal communities saw themselves as free traders and employed a huge amount of manpower, and thus were their own security. Watch the wall, my darling, whilst the gentlemen go by. The organization of these large gangs of smugglers was no mean feat, and required near military control and command. The following is based on recorded fact and conversational supposition. The places and goods are real. The people are a product of imagination. You looking for Nathaniel Stubbins, lad? Barked a haphazard bundle of muffled frock coat and a single buckled high boot. Piercing blue eyes fixed Jacob in their glare, eyebrows thick as frost-rimed bramble, raised and amplified the question. Nodding, Jacob was only halfway down from the rear of the stagecoach, eyes gritty and limbs frozen stiff. You'll be the scrivener and tallyman, Jacob. Isaac, Solomon's nephew, come to learn the art of the moon haters. Put your things in the trap over yonder and meet me in the tap room. I'll be getting you something to warm you afore we're off. Without a backward glance, the fellow rose, retrieved an iron-shod crocked stick, thick as a wrist, and hobbled on a withered, shrunken, twisted foot, and his one good leg across the yard, and in through a door in the corner of the inn. Jacob, clutching his satchel, watched as his two small trunks were loaded onto the trap. The coach horse's nickering stamped and sparks flew off the cobblestones as they were taken off the traces. Steamy breath joined the mist of sweat as it hung in the yard. The new team were put to their traces as the spent horses made their way to the stable to a well-earned feed, drink, rub down, and rest. With this thing stowed, he walked stiff-legged across the yard, tossing a penny to the ostler boys, and through the door. Before him the passage was dim. He was guided by the sound of lively chatter from behind a curtain at end of the passage. As he drew back the curtain, all conversation stopped, and all eyes were on him. "'S all right. That's our paymaster's lad and scribe," boomed a voice in the ingle nook. Jacob looked in the direction of the booming voice and saw Stubbins sat at a bench by the fire. On the table before him were 2 quart tankards, a bottle, bread, and cheese. "Come and warm yourself and wrap your ribs around this whilst I mull you a toddy. Then we can make a start." Jacob wove through the throng and sat on the bench next to the fire. "Thanks, Mr. Stubbins," as he took the tankard. "Nat, lad, all call me Nat, or Stubbins the Squint. Knew your uncle from when he was about your age. He came to my dad just as you're coming to me. Father was the moon haters, beach master then. I learned the Squint, taught my lad Edward, and growed into bench master on account of my job. Couldn't be a tub man nor run decoy." Jacob puzzled and was about to ask when Stubbins continued, "Don't suppose you know nothing about squints. Tubmen and the likes, but that's why you're here, to learn the art of the moon haters. Drink up, lad, and eat something. Then I'll introduce you to the crew." With that, Nat rose to one leg and picked up his stick, and made his way to the bar. Once there, he rapped the stick on the flags, and the expectant hush fell on the assemblage. "We all know why we're here. It's dark moon and high springs, perfect for we, the moon haters." The assembled throng murmured, banged tables with mugs, bottles, and palms. Rapping the iron tip of his stick on the flags again, the crowd hushed, and once again Stubbins had their full attention. "2 nights hence it'll be dark moon and high spring tide. So for the next 3 nights I want the twin mulatto to run Black Shuck from Sea Pollings to Walcott. From dusk to dawn, there and back, with as much baying and fuss as that dog of yours will make. There's a dead sheep in the store to quarter and savage.
Be sure to leave pieces where they'll be found. That will keep the curious behind doors and windows shuttered. You two know what's required, but that much and no more. Understood?"
The two girls nodded, and without word came forward to Stubbins and received a key and slid back into the mob that parted and closed at their passing like a thick fluid. They wove their way through the crush and slid onto the bench either side of Jacob, their wild hair and voluptuous curves occupying so much more than the two other seats on the bench. Delight and embarrassment in equal measure hammered with each beat of the lad's heart. Never had he seen nor imagined unlaced women in nankeen trews, with knee boots, shirts and waistcoats, hangers on their belts, let alone been sat next to two creatures of such wild beauty and extravagant physicality. Next to the squints, the Dutchman wants to come ashore at Guard Cap. So Edward at dusk, I want a long moose lantern atop the church tower's echoes, lighted with the weather vane due east. Edward, watch for 3 flashes from down the coast, answer smartly and with 3 from your lantern. Cover the nose and count 3 thrice, then point your lantern due north and wait. Stubbins took a draught from his tankard, wiped his chops with his coat sleeves, turned to face the next man. Now, Tom, your alarm watch and squint. From first light, you'll be on Happisburgh Church Tower. You can see 5 corn mills and 5 drainage mills. Each will signal each hour of daylight in the usual way St. George's Cross for clear and St. Andrew's for excise abroad. And some 30 churches. Each will have a squint and will signal. Some dusk, hourly, you know the signals to keep your eyes peeled. After dark, point your long nose east, southeast. Again, line it to the weather vane. When you see the 3 flashes from the Dutchman, same as Ed answer with 3 flashes from a count of 3 thrice, then point your nose due east and again wait. Where's Davy Wright? Step forward, lad. You'll be atop the dunes just south of Cart Gap, and won't see the squint lights atop the churches, but you will see the Dutchman's flashes at sea. As soon as you do, shine you your long nose and point it due east. I'll line you up with the compass before dusk. When the Dutchman can see all 3 lights, he'll be on the spot, 40 fathoms offshore. Then he'll flash reply 4 times with a count of 2 between. You all answer with 4 flashes to a count of 3. The Dutchy'll know the coast's clear. That's when Ed and Tom, you mask your lights sharply. Tom, you stay put and keep your eyes on those churches. If a light flashes, there's preventives about, so use your squint to warn us at the gap. Davy, keep your lights steady till they are aground. It's high spring, so they should beach near enough to smell the gin on their breath, then flash them thrice and douse your light. You 3 squints have good whale oil in the long nose and all have good flint and steel, so all the squints are set. Ed and Tom, keep your eyes peeled and your eyes sharp for the sound of horse and harness. You know the signals if anyone approaches from inland or along the coast. Now give me back. Ed, you first. First Ed, then Tom, and finally Davy retold their instructions flawlessly whilst Stubbins took a long pull from his tankard. He filled and lit his pipe. Satisfied, he dismissed the 3, took another long pull from his quart pot, and drew on his pipe until it crackled and spat. Knocking the dottle onto the flags and crushing it with the iron-shod stick he knocked around the gathering.
Decoys, where are you?
5 tattered elderly women with bodies that looked to be made up of driftwood and faces like angry walnuts scuttled sideways to the fore.
Each of you will set small, and I do mean small, beacons along the cliffs. We don't need another gorse fire running with the breeze. Munsley, Trimmingham, Side Strand, Overstrand, and East Runton. Each choose your own spot. You'll light your beacon in turn when, and only when, you see a mass light dip to deck and raise again about a quarter mile offshore. The light'll be on fishing smack traveling up the coast and will draw any riding preventives away from the landing. You've all done this many times, so don't get lazy on me, and you can have cash or kinda week hence. Let me know before we part today.
Nathaniel Stubbins drained his pot, rubbed his stubbled chin, and continued the instruction.
All cargo coming ashore must pass through the gap. We're Jacob over there. Stand up, lad. We'll be running the inventory and tally. The parcels of specials will come ashore first. All hands will help load the ponies and wagon in a chain from ship to shore. And no fighting with the Dutch boys, or you'll meet the rough end of my stick. Remember, tobacco, silks, medicines, and the like can't get wet, or they'll spoil, so keep the chain moving. Tubmen, you'll be first off from the gap. 322 half anchors to strong Geneva, ready slung, 2 per man per trip, paid at the usual rate. I want them taken to Sutton's Staithe and loaded upon the wherry of Billy Royal. Choose your own paths, but no more than 10 men in a group. Billy'll give every man a token for each trip. That I'll exchange for coin 5 days hence in the Stalham Harsner. Weather's been kind and the ground firm, and there's 40 of you, so 4 trips per men is what I expect. But if you can manage more, God bless you.
Filling and relighting his pipe, Stubbins continued.
Now to the carters. 15 5-horseman teamers, 2 lads and drivers each. Since Pitt reduced the duty of tea last Parliament of 1783, we've left it to the fair traders, but there will be tea for the moon haters.
The throng cheered. There were cries of, "Better be Geneva and bocce for us and all." "Is there any oranges this trip? I do love an orange." This was from one of the twins. Stubbins, banging his stick for quiet, continued.
So there's more specials and tobacco and oilcloths bundled plus 180 30-gallon kegs of French brandy. Each wagon to load with 12 kegs and 24 bundles. Plus some specials pending on the route. Drops at Coltishall, Beston, Hoverton, and Rackheath Halls. The Lonely Cherry Tree, Plumstead. The usual drops on Mousehold and in the city. The Cathedral Close and Hospital. Jacob will direct the specials to the right wagon on the night as the goods come ashore. Once loaded, head straight for the usual barns and top off with Reed and Rush. Leave in the groups of 3, then 5 trains. Each take a different path, and you all know the routes, and there will be drops along the way. You'll get instructed before you leave the gap. Thence to Norwich, Margandale, Bears Gate's been bought, so no stopping. Then each to the store you know. Arrive at dusk or just after dark. There'll be hands to unload, and you'll be paid by the store men then and there. Pony trains, all of you, with 12 beasts each, will only carry the city specials. Smartly, straight to the city, get there well before dawn. Each knows where to go, so no loitering. Into the yard unload. Load up the decoys, and out again with the decoy loads. All the ponies know their way, so dump some of the decoys at first sight of the militia on the roads south, west, and north of the city. Lead them a dance, lads. Draw them off a goodly distance before you cut and run. The ponies will find their ways, just as you lads make good your escape. I think that'd be it, Stubbins said. Unless there are any queries.
There was a moment's silence, and then a general chatter grew to a hubbub, and Stubbins turned to the bar and shouted for the tapster to fill everyone's pots before they departed their separate ways. Jacob, sitting by the fire, was greeted by several "knew your pa and uncle," and made to feel welcome in part of the crew. The 2 mulatto girls, having squeezed in on either side of Jacob, and poured him another pot and mulled it with a poker from the fire, whereupon they started to question him about where he came from and who was his uncle. Did Jacob think them pretty? Which was the fairest of complexion? Where was he going to stay the night? Jacob could hardly get a word in edgewise. He felt hotter and redder as the girls pushed their fingers through his hair. Gulping his toddy, he made a valiant attempt to assume mastery of the situation, but the girls were having none of it. Out of the corner of his eye, Stubbins had been watching the trio on the bench, and as the girls made to leave, he swung his stick with a mighty thwack on the table. The whole room was instantly silenced.
"Now, ladies,"
he said with heavy irony,
"give the lad back his watch, purse, satchel, and pretty tricorn."
With a hissing and kissing of teeth, the girls complied. Jacob sat with mouth agape, flushing redder than before to the roots of his hair. "But Nat," said the one with green waistcoat, "we was just funning with him. Never would have taken off with his stuff." "He is so pretty, though, Nat," chimed the other. "No harm done, Mr. Stubbins. Just a bit of fun, as Chloe said." Jacob stood and retrieved his things from the table. "That's Clara," pouted Chloe. "Ha! Knew he liked me best." Clara triumphantly flounced across the floor, followed instantly by her sister.
"Girls," barked Stubbins, "no more of that. Go and get the beasts of yours ready and leave the lad to his work. There may be time for funning later, but after the Dutchie's back out to sea and it's time for the payout. That is, if the lad is interested and you've not put him off females forever."
Jacob was speechless as the girls left to attend to their beasts. Stubbins winked at him and laughed, said,
"You could do worse, lad. You could do worse. Mind you, those two would eat you whole and spit out the pips. Grab your traps, lad. We'd best be off."